Hey everybody, this is Fred Rachani of TSC News, a late night video blog. Breaking news. The UFC has officially been sold for $4 billion. I repeat, billion with the B. Not bad for a $2 million investment back in 2001, eh? The Fertitta brothers are officially out of the picture. Their ownership stake, the whole ownership stake of the UFC, goes to WME-IMG, along with firms Silver Lake, Kohlberg, Kravis Roberts, and Michael S. Dell. And if you've heard of WME-IMG before, that's because they are the creative agency powerhouse in Los Angeles and all around the world. They currently rep Ronda Rousey. They're run by Ari Emanuel and Patrick Whitesell. Ari Emanuel, if that name sounds familiar, based on the character of Ari Gold in Entourage was actually based on the real-life Ari Emanuel. So the more you know. As for the status of Dana White, he will remain as president. He says he's going to still have an ownership stake. I believe he told this to the LA Times. I mean, this is just breaking news right now. I believe Lance Pugmire got a few quotes out of him. But it seems like Dana White will just be doing his usual Dana White thing, which is running the show, busting his ass, occasionally getting into trouble for things he says, and he'll have a stake in the company. But it's going to be interesting because even though he has an ownership stake, he's no longer working with his best friend, his buddies, the Fertitta brothers. He's working with Ari Emanuel. He's working with a whole brand new company. He's answering to multiple investors. One would be led to believe that Flash Entertainment, the government in Abu Dhabi, no longer owns their stake as well, which I think was like 9 or 10% that they purchased back in 2010. So it's going to be interesting. Dana White says, or at least he sounds like he's saying things will stay the same, but he also said the same thing about Strikeforce when the UFC bought Strikeforce. He said business as usual, and very quickly that wasn't the case. As for the new owners of UFC, what do they inherit? Well, they inherit a company that just had one of its biggest shows ever, UFC 200. However, they also inherit a company that is at the forefront of one of the most volatile sports businesses, period. You take away Conor McGregor, you take away Ronda Rousey, and 2015 doesn't look so good. We saw what happened in 2014 when there were a ton of injuries. It was one of UFC's worst pay-per-view years ever. I think it was their worst pay-per-view year since like 2004 or 2005. Now, they have a big contract with Fox. They got merchandise. They got deals all over the world. So it wasn't like they were exactly hurting for money, but pay-per-views definitely took a hit with injuries. And you got Conor McGregor against Nate Diaz. He lost once before. What if he loses again? You got Anderson Silva not getting any younger. You have Ronda Rousey, who may not come back, in the women's bantamweight title, playing hot potato. And then outside of the cage, you still got that lawsuit with John Fitch and Kung Lee and Nate Quarry and a bunch of other MMA fighters suing the UFC for being a monopoly, among other things. And you have the UFC and MMA in general being looked at as maybe perhaps becoming a part of the Muhammad Ali Act. So there's not just drama in the cage, but out of the cage that the new owners are going to have to deal with. And I guess it's something that Lorenzo Fertitta, Frank Fertitta, thought, you know what? We have 4 billion reasons not to have to deal with this anymore. Perhaps the sport's peaked. I'm not really sure. Dana White says it hasn't. Dana White believes that Ari Emanuel and WME-IMG can take the UFC to the next level. And, hey, it's grown to great heights. I mean, there's more shows than ever. It's definitely oversaturation in that sense. But the bigger shows have been pretty damn big. But, again, the common denominator is stars like Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey. And should Rousey not come back? And should McGregor lose to Nate Diaz? Well, they're definitely gonna need a new top draw then. I mean, you always want multiple top draws, but the bright side, for all the faults of Dana White and certain things he says, and you hate on the UFC for the lack of fighter pay and the Reebok deal, and look, I have my own criticisms about that as well. But compared to, say, like WWE, which can predetermine its finishes, they've created so many new stars compared to WWE. Meanwhile, WWE has greater ratings in certain markets and better TV deals in certain markets around the world. And UFC, they derive their business from WWE, yet UFC in recent years has been a lot better and a lot more open-minded of pushing its stars. Now, again, MMA and pro wrestling. It is real. Things can happen. But folks, I'm going to go get some sleep. It's a late night, but I just wanted to break this news to you. I'm sure you're going to be hearing it all over ESPN. The official announcement, I'm sure in some press conference type of deal, is supposed to be taking place later today. So I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Tweet us, Facebook us. Do what you got to do. If you enjoyed this breaking news update, please like, share, take care. And until next time, everybody, as always, enjoy the fights.